welcome back to another episode of The Hot Seat. I'm your host, Marie Wiese, and today my guest is Stephen Settle, who is the managing partner at Ryse Technologies. And I'm really excited to talk to Stephen for a bunch of reasons today. I think first and foremost, Stephen, you and I met probably over a year ago when we were out and about in the channel attending events. And I am unbelievably impressed with the growth of your organization. And I think it's amazing where you are between last year and this year. It's growth that I think most Microsoft partners would be very envious of. So, welcome to the show, Stephen, and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's been a really exciting year. Actually, it's been a very exciting few years, and the world is changing so fast, and I'm very privileged to be a part of it.
I think what's really cool about your vision as a Microsoft partner and what you have been trying to do within your practice is really like you've really led with AI. I think at a time when everybody's chatting about AI, they're still trying to figure out how to layer AI on top of whatever they have. But I think what's been really interesting about our conversations is that you're approaching it from what can AI truly do from a transformation perspective? Let's pretend we have a clean slate here before we go look at what's under the covers. Let's really get a handle on what are we trying to accomplish. And then we can go see how we're going to do that technologically. Why is that your approach? Why is that what Ryse Technologies is all about?
Well, so a few things. So first of all, just recently, MIT put out a study that was a really interesting one in which they said that uh, 95% of AI projects are going to fail to produce any value. And that's a very scary thing for a lot of organizations to hear. Uh,
90%?
95 was the number that they had said. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Okay. Woo.
So, yes. And so I think that for us, what that means is that there's kind of two classes of organizations that are going to adopt AI. The first class of organization that's going to adopt AI is going to take some big risks, and they're going to be a part of this picture that's this 95% to 5%. 5% of those companies are going to change the world, and they're going to do something truly remarkable. This whole thing is a little bit of a gold rush as companies try to figure out what's going to stick to the wall and what's actually going to work and be an effective way to use artificial intelligence. And then there's the second class of companies that are they're not technology first companies. These are companies who are trying to achieve daily business operations and streamline their functionality. These are usually our clients who are looking to make improvements, but don't have an appetite for risk to do this kind of like huge AI innovation that's going to potentially either work or not work and either be a boon or a bust, right? They want to try to find something that is somewhere in the middle that is going to work for them. And so, what we like to do when we're approaching these difficult business problems is we start with small components and we look at what pieces work well with traditional software development approaches and what pieces work well with manual components. And we look for opportunities to utilize the new technologies in large language models to potentially replace some of the repetitive manual steps in those processes. And innovate those processes in a way where we have kind of two pieces working together. We have a traditional software development piece that kind of works as a little bit of a workflow that's aided by an artificial intelligence component that facilitates and moves the process forward where it used to be gated by human interaction previously. We found that this approach is really effective for these organizations with this kind of limited risk appetite because it allows us to experiment on small components and build on them very rapidly. So we can take their entire process apart, decompose it into these manual components, and replace them one at a time until we have a process that we're really satisfied works coherently all the way through from start to end. And this is transformational, right? Instead of building one big shot all at once, we look at the individual pieces, put a Lego set together, and come up with something that's really unique. This allows us to reduce the risk at every step along the way dramatically and give them something that is transformational, that's composed of small things, right? We get a big change out of a lot of small changes.
I love that. I love that. And I think you've just, in the hot seat, we ask the tough questions and sometimes we don't always get the answers, but I think you've just summed it up beautifully. This is a recipe that I think people need to be using.
Mhm.
Most importantly, companies need to be considering. So, regardless of who their technology partner is, these are the things I think they need to be asking them. So, there's been a lot of talk in the channel about this thing called becoming a frontier partner, as a Microsoft partner, becoming a frontier partner.
Yes.
In from your perspective as a Microsoft partner, what the heck does that mean? And what are your thoughts on it? Because
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've done a ton of searches on this topic.
Hmm.
Microsoft hasn't actually defined it or said if you there's no certification to achieve around it. So what do you
So
think
right.
it means and what do you think's going on?
Yeah, sure. So, uh, I think that I want to maybe start by saying what it's not, right? And I think that there's a common misunderstanding that being a frontier AI partner means being a blind evangelist, right? And saying that no matter what, AI is your solution and you need to adopt it now, right?
Right.
That is one attitude that we have seen some organizations take, and we think it's a little bit it's too accepting of risk, in our opinion. We think that the right way to frame this, the right way to frame it is to inform the world and our customers and the community in general that AI is here. We're no longer waiting for the next generation to happen. It's no longer going to be the next thing is going to change the world again. It's time to stop waiting to implement AI. Now is the time. It's here, it's ready, but do it in a way that is measured and smart, right? Start with understanding your process. Not just your business process, but understanding your application lifecycle management process, your software development process. Start by laying the framework and groundwork that's necessary to have a secure development lifecycle that treats your AI data in a way that's respectful, right? We have to start by putting these foundations in place, and we want to make sure that, for example, we're not accidentally leaking data, not just to the companies who are training their new LLMs, and we don't want our sensitive data to be a part of their next generation large language models. We want it to be sensitive and secure to us, but also that we're putting good guards in place to not accidentally expose our data to people within the organization or even outside of the organization that don't strictly need access to it. And so we want to put, good processes in place first, have a good plan, and not just implement. We don't want to blindly implement anything. We want to be smart about it and take the necessary steps to build the right foundations that we can then build a house on top of. Um, and then the next step is for me. Um, so there's a gentleman in the AI space. He's pretty well known. His name is Andrew Ng, and he is a Stanford professor and Google researcher, and he's pretty well respected in our space. And what he says, and I really agree with him on this, is that this generation of AI is making easy problems free, hard problems easy, and impossible problems hard. And I think that that's a really interesting way to look at it, right? So when we look at what kinds of problems we can solve using this generation of artificial intelligence with large language models as the back end and potentially mixing in other forms of artificial intelligence like machine learning and convolutional neural networks and things like this, we should look at classes of problems and look at, can we now take on a hard problem because it's potentially easy for us to accomplish? Is that impossible problem that our industry has been confronted with now accessible to us as a hard problem? Are we willing to invest in that? But not look at it as we're going to implement AI and it's just going to solve all of our problems blindly, right? We want to be very measured and come up with a process for doing that.
And you know what? Here's what I love about your organization. And I think you're bang on. Do you remember we talked about give us one problem?
Yes.
Give us one problem that's keeping you up at night or that's causing whatever to happen in your organization, regardless of how big or small it is. Give us that one problem.
That's right.
and we'll look at the right way to solve it versus just to your point, blindly putting stuff across.
Yes,
Yes.
totally.
So,
So, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
So go on. Go on.
Yeah. So, our organization now, Ryse Technologies, we have 37 team members who are delivering results to our clients today. And they've got a diverse skill set, which includes things like AI and data and reporting, but also enterprise resource planning, like Microsoft's flagship products, Dynamics 365 for finance and supply chain management. Um, and that group is um, is is making it possible for us to come at these problems from a lot of different directions. And we're able to, because of our speciality, our differences in our specialities within our organization, approach any company out there and look at their business processes and look at the challenges that they're facing today and come up with innovative solutions using technology to solve difficult problems for them. And if there's one thing that our company does that I think is truly remarkable, it's solving very difficult problems. We're able to look at companies that are struggling with one thing or another and give them very valuable insight that will help them to streamline their processes, to remove bottlenecks, to solve difficult problems. We're very good at that, and I'm very proud of it. We've done some very interesting work, not just keeping the lights on, not just implementing run-of-the-mill solutions, but solving very difficult problems. And we think that anyone who's out there right now who's facing a difficult problem should at least talk to us. We have a lot of ideas, and we're very good at solving these kinds of issues.
So I got to believe that's what makes you a frontier partner. And I hope that's the definition of a frontier partner, not I sold a lot of Copilot licenses. I hope that the definition of a frontier partner evolves to be what you just said, because that's where I think a ton of value can be brought by a partner to a customer, as opposed to just saying, I'm going to go sell you licenses or increase your Azure consumption. I think we can all agree that at the end of the day, that isn't what's going to grow their business or yours. And I think listeners, listen up. He just gave you the secret sauce to how to do an unbelievable job growing business quite quickly in what is probably a very competitive and difficult economy right now.
Mhm.
You are growing in leaps and bounds, and obviously because you've figured it out. So, Stephen, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing. I continue to be a huge fan of you and everyone at Ryse and all the work that you're doing. And I think you've just given me and our audience all they could ever hope for, quite frankly, in 10 minutes around how they have to approach selling AI, thinking about AI, and using AI if you're a technology partner. So thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. Please come visit us, risetechnologies.com.
All right. You've been listening to The Hot Seat, where we ask the tough questions of Microsoft partners about their work in the channel. I'm your host, Marie Wiese, and stay tuned. We'll have the next Hot Seat question up shortly. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.